Hello, welcome. Thank you so much again for watching this video. This is the part 2 of the BIP report call in OIC integration. As we have already created part 1 where we explain all the details from a scratch, that how you can get the requirement, how you will understand that what all value we required while creating the integration, how to test the BIP report. Everything I explain in this 1.5 hour long videos. If you have not watched that videos, please watch this video first, then move to the this video, that is the second videos. In this video, if you remember, in the first video we created integration, and this is the integration we created in the first video, where we added the endpoint to invoke the SOAP, invoke the BIP report. We got the BIP data, added the condition. If data is there in the BIP, we are reading the data and inserting data into ATP table. Now in this video, you can see here we have not added any exception handling block. So for suppose if we will get exception anywhere while calling, invoking the SOAP call or inserting data into the table, we have not handled that exception, and that integration will be in the fault only. That integration will complete in error. So how we can cover up that situation, how we can handle the exception, all the details we are going to learn in video. Even if you will see in the previous video, I created the invoke the SOAP call, and in the mapping I provided the hard-coded values like BIP report name, path, directory, all the details, right? So instead of providing this hard-coded value, all these things we will map from the BIP report. So how we can do everything we are going to learn in this video. So don't forget to subscribe our channel. When you will subscribe our channel, it will give us pleasure to create such videos again and again. That's why I'm again requesting, if you have not subscribed this channel yet, please subscribe, and don't forget to hit the like button. Let's move to integration. So this is our integration. Suppose you are working on a project, you develop that integration, and that integration is working fine. So whenever we are executing that integration, it's invoking the BIP report, inserting data into that database table. Let me show you the data again. So this is our database table. You can see. So here I will run the query. This table having few records, right? Last time we loaded. So let me remove all the records. And if I will go and run the integration, so again it will insert data into that table. So let me run the integration, but everything is fine in the integration. That's why we are not getting error. But by chance, if we got error due to any reason, that integration will fail, right? And it will not be able to insert data, and even we will not be able to track all the details, right? So for handling all the situation, the runtime error situation, we have to add the exception block. And for providing the value, that hard coded value we provided in the integration, instead of that, if we want to provide that value from the lookup, we have to add the lookup in that. So you can see total 7 record inserted. If you will move to the table, we will be able to see the all 7 records inserted here. You can see this is the instance ID and the invoice ID, all the columns coming from BIP report, and the who column, that is creation date, last update date, created by. You can see this is the integration name we added last time in creation date, so that we will able to know that this integration have inserted data. Even instead of that, we can use the invoke by, all the details, right? So now what I will do, again let me drop all the records from delete the table. Now here what we want, we have to add we have to make an enhancement in this integration, and we have to add the lookup and the scope. So for doing that one, so obvious, when you will work on the project, you have to do that kind of things again and again. That's why we have version control in the version control concept in integration. So I will create a new version of this integration, so that the name will not be changed, identifier will not be changed, just it will change the version. For that, we have to just go and create a new version. You can see, create a new version. So right now it's 100, it will be 1.0.1. So now even you want to give, you can give the description or let it be the same. I will click on create. So at a time there can be only one active integration activated. So right now it's in configure status, that is the latest version 1.0.1. I have to edit this version. Now here we have to do the changes for adding the lookup, right? So here we are providing the hard-coded value, and we have to add the lookup here. Even we will add the logic to iterate the record, iterate the logic to invoke the BIP call. So suppose we will add the retry logic, that is called as. So we will add the retry logic in the BIP call. For example, if we got error related to invoking the SOAP services, so at that time we don't want to complete the integration in error. So we want that it will go and iterate few times, and the time we will mention in the report, that how much time we want to retry the logic of calling the BIP report if we got error while invoking. So that logic even we will add here. So for that, first we have to add the lookup. So let me go and again create new lookup in this instance only. So this is the same instance. You can see now here we have to create one lookup. So I will go to the design and this is the lookup. So as I have not created any lookup, so first we have to create the lookup. I will go and click on create. And here we have to provide the name of the lookup. So I will give the name as XX BIP INT LKP. This is the short name I am going to give. BIP INT, and here in the lookup name, instead of a space, I will always prefer to use underscore. It's best practice, right? So click on create. Now in BIP report, what column we have to add? So the first column we will add as a rice ID. Right, rice ID, it means that for each and every integration, we will provide a unique ID. That ID can be called as rice ID. So I will give the name as rice ID or integration ID. And for example, this is our first integration. Based on your project, that can be different. So let me give the name as INT, and this is INT01. I will give the rice ID of this integration as INT01. This is our integration name. So I will copy this integration name and I will create another column with the name as integration name. Even the same lookup we can use for providing the notification and all the details, right? So I will give the name as INT name. So here we have to add another column. We have to update the column name. So I will give the name INT name. Instead of INT name, I will use integration name. And here I will give the value that our integration name. And even if you want, you can add the version here. If you don't want, you can let it be. And what all value we want to add here? So whatever value we are using hard coded and other values, right? So other values, like the first value can be the iteration, the retry logic. So I will give the value as retry count. Retry count, and I want to retry 3 times. If we got error while invoking soap, retry that soap invoke 3 times, right? So we added value 3. Again I will add, and what value we want? If you will see the basic values, we have the BIP report name, BIP report parameters, and the BIP report output format. That kind of things we can add. So for example, here if you will see, we have the attribute format, so we can use here. So let me give the name of the column as BIP directory. BIP directory, and this directory we already hard coded here, so we will get directory from here only, and we will replace this directory in the integration by adding the lookup. So in the directory it will not require single column in the lookup, single quotes. So directory, and here we have to provide the attribute format. So attribute format, I will give the name in lookup as BIP output format, and format we use as XML here, right? XML, this value we will provide here, XML. And after that we have to add the column for BIP parameters. So I will give the name as BIP parameter parameter 1. I will use the same, and there can be each and every integration can have different BIP report and can have the different BIP parameters. So you can create 1, 2, 3 parameters based on your business requirement. So just for example, I am just going to add 3 parameters name here, so that if any of the integration having multiple parameters, we can give the name only. So now in our case, we have only one parameter, so we will provide only value in the first parameter. So what is the parameter's name? Go to the parameters value, expand item, and inside that here we have name, and this is the name, parameters name, right? I will copy and provide the parameters. We don't have parameters in this two parameter, 3 parameter, we will let it be same. Now we are done, right? We don't require additional information. Let me save this lookup. So right now it's in draft mode. So once we will save, it will be in configure. Now when integration is in configure mode, we will be able to use this integration, right? This lookup. So now we have to go to the integration. So right now this lookup will not be visible in the integration, because that integration we already created and lookup created after the integration we opened. So first we have to go back to the integration page, and then here we have to again edit the integration so that that lookup can be loaded in this integration page. Now So when we have to add the value from the lookup, so there will be two options. The first option, we can directly use lookup call here to get the value, or the second option, we can create all the variable here. We will use lookup here, and then that variable we can map here. So this will be the easy process, so that in the integration, all where whatever we use the lookup values, we can get from one place only, right? So just I have to go to the assign, and inside that we have to create one variable. So the first variable we will create for the retry count. So I will give the name as var underscore retry count. And what is the retry count? We will get from the lookup. So how we can get? So we have lookup function, lookup values. So this lookup values we will drag here. So we will drag here, and here it will ask the lookup name. So as in instance we have only one lookup, that's why it's showing here. I will select this one, go to next, and here you can see we have to select the source based on which column we will get the data. So in the lookup, our source column will be rice ID or integration name. So I will use rice ID. Even you can use the integration name too. So whatever you prefer. Now what I will do, I will provide the source column as rice ID, and here we have to provide the value for the rice ID, right? So right now, which column we want to get based on rice ID? So for example, suppose we created variable for retry count. So I will select the retry count column. Go next. Default value, I don't want to provide anything. Go next and done. For example, at runtime, user want to retry that 5 times. So they can directly change the value here, and that will be reflect in the integration automatically, right? So that's the benefit of lookup, all this thing. So we added the retry count. Now we have to add the variable. We have to add the variable for report directory and all, right? So again, I will create one variable, give the name as var. Let me make it big large. Var underscore report directory, and here we have to provide the value, and that value will come from again lookup. So I will go to the lookup, search lookup. Lookup values is the function which help us to get the data from lookup, a value from the lookup. So we'll select here, again we'll select the lookup name. Next, and the source column, again it will be rice ID, and the target column which we want. So we created this variable for the report directory. So I will select the BIP directory. Next, I don't want to provide any default value. Next, and done. So now we added the variable for that. So now next time, this time we have to add the variable for the report output format. So I will give the name as var underscore report output format. And again, we will map the value from the lookup only. So we have already lookup values function. I will search this lookup values function here. Select the lookup, select the source column as rice ID and target column as this variable is for the report output format. So this is the report output format. Next, 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 and done. So we created variable for report output format too. Now it's time to create a variable for get the BIP report parameters name. So click here. New variable will be created. Give the name as var underscore report parameter 1, as this is first parameter. And here we have to drag the lookup value function. Again, we have to select the lookup value name, select the source, the rice ID, and the target column will be parameters 1. Next, next, done. So now we got all the values from BI lookup, and now this value we have to use in our integration. So we got error in the assign. Let me check what error we are getting. So we got error in the mapping only. Okay. So what value we missed here? If you will see, here we have to provide the source value. The source value is the rice ID. What is the value for rice ID? So for that, what we can do, even we can create one variable, and in that variable we can assign the value. I'm just looking how we can uh, create. I want to create variable here only. So let me check. I just want to make this up and down. So okay, let it be. Let me provide the hard coded value here in the rice ID. So rice ID is, this is our rice ID, right? int01. So let me copy this rice ID and I will provide rice ID here. Here we have to, instead of source, we have to provide the rice ID. So now the same we have to do for rest of the column we use for BIP report name, BIP report values. So again here, go and edit this column and instead of source header value, provide this value. Now it's done. You can see error is resolved now. We'll go and do the same for different value we used. And this is the large. So we have to go for edit and you can see based on this int01, it will pick the parameters one value and the rest of the column, right? That's the logic for getting the data from the lookup, right? So now we are done with that. Go outside. Now we added the assign variables to get the value from VIP report. Now this value we have to map to the SOAP. So go to the mapper again. And instead of using the hard-coded value, this hard-coded value, what we will do, we will drag the variable here. So this is report attribute format, that is report output format. So we'll map this variable report output format. Same, we will go for the parameters. Inside the items, we have the parameters name. This is the name. So we'll go and we'll map the parameters 1. And value, we don't need to do any changes because value we are getting from the request payload only. Report absolute path, we have to change the report absolute path from the report directory variable. And now the chunk of data size is -1 because we know that each and every time we are going to use -1 only. That's why I don't want to change it here. So now everything is done. We have to validate the mapper and came outside. So now this time if I will run, it will pick the value from the lookup only at runtime. Now we have to add the scope to handle the exception whatever we will get, and we have to add the logic for retry. For adding the logic for retry, we have to add the lookup, right? Add the loop. And even we already got the count here. You can see we already created one variable retry count. This variable we will use while iterating the loop, but we required some other variable. That variable can be used to make a count, right? So this will be the total count, but we will iterate the loop based on some variable. So I will create one variable and I will give the name as var total retry and will start from 1. We'll provide the value as 1 in start. So you can see the total retry count is 1 right now. So here we have to add the loop so that inside the loop we can iterate the count of this one based on the condition. So we'll go here and we have to add the scope. Here we have to add the scope, so we are not getting. So let me go again, drag the scope. Yeah. So now here we have to give the name to the scope. So I will give the name to that scope is, will give the name as run report scope. Run report scope, that report scope we added, and inside the scope we have to add the SOAP invoke. We have to invoke the SOAP. So what we will do, we will move this endpoint from outside the loop inside the scope. So here you can see I will go and I will make a cut here and here I will paste. This is the the features of Gen 3 that we can directly cut and paste instead of reposition. Came here. It is same as the reposition only. So the inside the scope we added the logic to invoke the SOAP. And for after invoke SOAP invoking, we have to just go for decode. So again I will cut this one and paste it here, decode. And here this is the stage for decode, right? That was the mapping. So cut here and now paste. So here this switch is just for like checking that this decode having the records or not. So we will add the condition. So here we are getting error while reading because of this. The file reference generated by stage is inside the scope, and outside this scope we will not be able to access this one. So we will solve that issue too. So first we will cover the first part while for invoking the soap and adding the retry logic. So inside the scope we have to add the retry count, right? Retry logic. So go and add the while loop here, and I will give the name of this while loop as retry loop, retry BIP loop, and done. And what logic we have to add? We have to iterate this loop until the loop variable count we added will be less than or equals to that count we are getting from the lookup. So you can see the retry count. This retry count is the value we are getting from lookup, and this total retry right now we have 1. So we will make that 1 is less than equal to this retry count. So first iteration it will be 1 is less than equals to 3. That's true. It will iterate, and if we will be able to successfully invoke the soap, we will update the count, this total retry count, directly by making more than retry plus 1. So based on that kind of logic we will use. So here what we have to do, we have to add the logic that we have to iterate the loop, while loop, until that total retry count is less than or equals to retry count. Now here you can see the condition we added came outside to make this loop working, and inside that loop we have to add the soap invoke. So what I will do, I will cut it here, I will paste it here. Same I will do, cut the soap call, paste inside this loop. So now here you can see, in first time 1 is less than equals to 3, that will be true. It will go inside, it will invoke the soap call, and if this soap call completed successfully or invoked successfully, we have to just update the count of that variable so that next time it will be false and it will not iterate. So if our control will move here, it means that we successfully able to invoke the soap. So I will use assign here, and I will give the name as update retry success. And here we will make that retry variable count that we used here, the variable we used, that retry total retry, where retry total retry, and I will make this retry as more than the retry variable we have, that we are retry count we are getting from lookup. So we'll make this one, this plus 1, and I will make this as number, because that retry count is in variable string. Even without this number it can work, but let me make it that one. So what logic we added? We added the logic, if we are able to successfully invoke the soap, we are just making the total retry count, whatever count will be there, it will be more than 3 plus 1, that is 4. So in next iteration, if we will go to the loop, this loop will false and it will not call the VIP again. And for example, suppose we first time we are going to invoke the soap and we got error while invoking. So we want to retry. So what it will do, once we will get the error here, it will go to the scope handler, and here you can see, yes. So again we have to add one more scope inside this while, so that if this will generate an error, that scope will handle that error. So let me add the scope, and this scope I will give the name as invoke BIP scope. Now here inside that we have to put this value, and here again we will cut this one and we will put inside this, and even we don't need to go and make it inside that one. So yeah, that's fine. So now what we will do, for example, For example, we got error while invoking, so it will move inside this fault handler of this scope. So go to the fault handler. You can see the fault handler. I will make that create default handler, and inside this default handler, this is the default handler. Inside the default handler, what we will do, we will increase the count of that loop we are using. So here we will again use the assign, and we will give the name as update retry error count. And what we have to make, we have to just select the variable that total retry and make the total retry whatever value is there plus 1. So we have the total retry, we will make it as number and plus 1. Now here you can see in first iteration, suppose it is the first iteration, it move inside the scope, and in the scope we got error. So what it will do, it will move to the fault handler, it will increase the count, and once it will increase the count, it will go to the loop. But here you can see outside this scope, we are incrementing the value. That is wrong. So we have to increment the value inside the scope only. So we have already cut it here, we'll paste here. We don't have option to paste again. Paste. Let me save this one. Now here you can see this is the count. In case of success, I will move this count from here to inside the main scope. Paste. It's getting error. Let me check. So let me again make it as cut from here, and I will paste it here. Why we are getting this error? Let me check. So now I cut and paste this assign activity here. So what is the current logic now? So you can see when we will assign the values from lookup, once we will get all the value from lookup, we added the scope, that is the main scope. For that scope name is run report scope. Inside that run report scope, we added while loop, and inside that while loop we added one more scope. Inside that scope we are invoking the soap call. So here we are invoking the soap call. If the first time we are going to iterate this loop, so this loop will having the variable value as 1, the total retry variable value will be 1, and it will check 1 is less than 3, that will be true. It will move inside the scope, and here it will invoke the soap call. If this soap call completed successfully, it will move and it will update the total count, retry count, to more than the actual count, that is 3 plus 1, that will be 4. So once that will be 4, it will, after that we don't have any activity, so again it will go to the loop and it will check 4 is less than equals to 3, that will false. So this loop iteration will be over and it will move outside the loop, and it will try to convert that base64 code or a code of that report response to file reference. If suppose we got error while invoking the soap, and that is the first iteration of the loop, so what it will do, it will move to the scope fault handler, and you can see this is the fault handler. Inside the fault handler, what we are going to do, we are updating the count as whatever count will be there plus 1. So total count is right now 1, it will be 1 plus 1, 2. And after this fault handler, we don't have anything. Again it will move to the loop and it will check 2 is less than equals to true, that's true. It will move inside, again it will try to invoke that one, and suppose again we got that error, it will again move to the fault handler, that is fault handler here. It will increment the count. This time the count will be 2 plus 1, that is 3. Again it will go to the loop, will check 3 is less than equals to 3, that is true. That was the second iteration. Now if this 3 is less than equals to 3, it will be third iteration. It will move inside, again it will invoke, and for example again we got error, so that will be the third iteration when we got error. After that it will again move to the fault handler, it will update the count as whatever count is there, it means 3 plus 1, 4, and again it will go to the loop and that loop will be false. Now here you can see Once the loop will be over, we will be sure about we have successfully called this swap or not. So what logic we have to do? We have to add a logic in a such a way that if we successfully call this BIP, then only we have to process further. If we didn't call the swap, and if we are not able to call the swap successfully, we don't need to do any operation, right? So in case of successfully invoke, we updated the count, and here we have to do the decoding. So I will move this decode from here to inside this one. And after that we have to again add the stage. So again we are getting error. I will drag it here only. Now done. Again I will have to cut this one. I will to paste it here, paste it here. So now once we will call the BIP report, it's successfully called. It will use a stage operation, that is decode base 64 code. It will convert the base 64 code into actual file reference. Here we are good, right? Till here we are good. And now if you will see, and once it will be done, so here let me create one more variable. That variable will be flag variable, so that that variable will identify that we successfully able to call the soap or not. So we'll create one more variable. We'll as use that variable name as var underscore soap flag. Instead of soap, we will use flag, BIP flag. And in a starting, we will make that BIP flag as Y. Or instead of Y, we will make that BIP flag as no. So that in initial time, in the logic, we will consider that we have not called the BIP successful yet, right? So the value is N. And once we will be able to call we will be able to successfully call the BIP, we will expand this one. And then once we will be able to successfully call the BIP, here we will update the flag. And if we will go to the variable, we will add one more variable here, and we'll set the BIP flag and make that BIP flag as Y. So this BIP flag will be Y only when we will be able to successfully call the BIP report and convert that into the file reference. And now friend, here you will see if that's done, right? We are successfully able to call the SOAP, and we are able to generate the file by converting using the opaque schema. Now after that we have to do the operation for reading the file and all the things, right? All the details we have to do. But here we have to add the logic. We will go and we will read only if we will be able to successfully invoke the SOAP. And how we will identify? We will identify using the flag variable. So here we have to add one more condition. So the same condition we already added. If that condition is we are going to only read the data when we have the data from the SOAP call. So again here instead of that we have to add one more condition, and that we are going to read the data only once we have the size is greater than 500 byte. And we will add one more condition here as, and we'll make as, and that flag variable is equals to Y. Once this condition will true, then only we are going to read the file and do the operation, do the same flow earlier whatever we are doing. But here you can see we are getting error. And what error we are getting? You can see the stage operation doesn't have the file reference to read. So why this stage file doesn't have file reference to read? Because if you will see where we have the file reference, this is the place where we have the file reference by decoding, right? And this file reference activity we have inside the scope, inside this scope. And we know that whatever thing we added inside the scope, we cannot access that thing outside the scope. So what we will do, we will create one variable, and whenever this file will be generated, we will assign the file reference to any variable, and that variable we will map while reading. So here you can see, let me create one more variable, and that variable name will be file reference. So I will give the name as var underscore BIP file reference, and in initial time it will be null. That is the single quotes value. So now right now we don't have any file reference value. We'll come here, and once we successfully call the BIP, after that we will convert that BIP report file, and once it's converted we are updating the flag, and here only we will add one more assign, and whatever variable we created, so variable we already created, this is the assign activity. Let us save. And our variable is this one, BIP file reference. And what value we have to provide in the BIP file reference? We have to provide the value of the response of this decode base64 code. Inside this decode base64 code, if you will see decode base64 code, we will have the file reference. So whenever it's generating the file by converting base64 code, it's generating one file inside the ICF, and this is the file reference we are using while reading. So instead of using this one, we will use this variable, right? So I will map the file reference here. File reference is mapped. Now you can see, once we will be able to successfully invoke the BIP report, it will convert that BIP report response into base64 code into the file reference, and the file reference we assign to that variable. And here, instead of directly reading that one, we will use that variable for reading. So here, go to the next, and here we provide the file reference. You can see that is the invalid because that base64 code is inside the scope and we cannot access the value outside the scope. That's why we have to change this one, and here we have to provide the variable we created for file reference. This is the file reference, right? Now continue, and we don't want to do any changes because everything is same as previous. Now you can see that error is resolved now, and once that error is resolved, everything is fine. You don't have any issue yet. So you can see we are saying that invalid mapping here. So somewhere we have the invalid mapping. Expand this one, and we'll check what mapping we have. Invalid mapping. Just let me check and validate mapping again, so that whatever error we are getting, we can remove that error. Go back. Again we have the error. If you will see the error message, invalid mapping explains view the details for the condition. Okay, that's the condition we added here. That condition is not correct, it seems. So this is correct, right? We added everything is fine. Let me check that reason behind that error. If we will provide double cost, will it be fine? Let me go to outside, check that it's validated or not. Again, now we are getting different error. Okay, this is the condition here we are getting. If I remove this mapping here, will it be fine? Let me check. Now again we have the same error. Let me check what is the error. So I got the issue. So if you will see the condition here, in the condition we are checking the size, and the size we are checking from the decode base64 code, and we know that this decode base64 code is inside the scope here, and we cannot access this value outside. So what we have to do, so whenever we are updating the repo file reference, with the file reference we can use the file size too. So let me create one more variable, and that variable will be used to store the file size. So here we will use var underscore BIP file size, and in a start it will be null, or that we can provide size as 0. Now if you will see here, one BIP will be called. We can update one more variable. We'll select the variable name as size, file size, and the file size again we will get from the decode code response. So this is the base 64 code. Go to the write response. In the write response, we have ICS file. Inside the ICS file properties, we have the file size. This is the file size, right? So we can drag the file size here. Now we have the file size inside this BIP file size variable. Now we will use this one, right? So even we don't need to use the flag and all these things. We can check based on that condition only, because we know that if we have file size as 0, it means that we are not able to read the file. So here, but let it be the same. Just we have to add the file size mapping here from here, and this is the file size, and we have to make this file size as number. Now here we have to add another condition, and the flag BIP flag. Where is flag? BIP flag is equals to y. So now we are done with our condition. Just go outside and you can see that error will be removed. Now you can see we don't have any error here, right? Let me save the integration. Now it's done. So the what logic we added? We added the logic here that all the value whatever we use to call the BIP report, we are getting from the lookup. Here we added the logic to get value from lookup, and once we got all the value from lookup, we added one main scope. Inside the main scope, we added the while loop, and we are going to iterate this while loop based on the logic we added, that if we will iterate the while loop 3 times if we got error while invoking the soap, and we will iterate again and again till 3 times. And once we will be able to successfully invoke the soap, we are going to convert the soap response into file reference. We are assigning the file reference to variable and the size. And when we are moving to outside, here we have to map the variable for the file reference so that it can read. And once it will read the file reference, it will iterate the loop and it will insert data into the ATP table. That's the same as earlier. Now what we have to do, we have to just activate this integration and run. So go back, we already saved this integration, and here you can see as both integration having the same name, same ID, but different version. So once we will activate this this version, this will be deactivated. So let me go and activate this one. So sorry, here we have option to activate. So once we will activate, it will ask to deactivate the previous version, you can see. So it will automatically deactivate. Just we have to go and click on activate. You can see it's in activation in progress. You can see 1.1 is activated now and 1.00 is configure status. Now we have to run this integration. So before run, let me make sure that we don't have any records in the table. Yes, we don't have any records. Let's move here and run this integration. Go to the body, and here we have to provide the dates. For like example, we are passing as 24, and let me run this integration. And the rest of the logic is same, like reading the data file from BIP report, all these things. Just we added the concept of exception handling using the scope and added the lookup values mapping, right? So that things we just added, and you can see once it's completed, in response we got total 8 record inserted into ATP. If you will go to the database table, if you will see, we will be able to see total 8 record inserted. You can see these all are the 8 records. Now if you will see the log messages, the log messages having all the activities whatever we have done in our integration. So you can see first we are triggering the integration, and after that it's started, and while trigger the integration, we are passing value as 1 for 2024. And if you will see, once it is started, we added the default assign. We added the values for variable for getting the different data. You can see we added the assign instance ID variable, which where we are storing the timestamp. We added the var count with 0. We added the var retry count, and this 3 is coming from the BIP here, right? And you can see the assign count is 0, 3, report directory, var report run, all these things we are getting from here. And if you'll see, after that we added the scope, this scope run. Inside that scope we added the retry BIP loop, and the total number of iterations you will be able to see 1, because in first iteration only we are successfully able to call the soap. Here you can see in the first iteration we invoke the soap, invoke BIP, and inside the invoke BIP we got the response that base 64 code. That's why we don't have error. So once we received this response, we provided the mapping to the decode base64 code, which converted the base64 code into the file reference and it generated the file reference. You can see this is the file reference. This file reference we store in the variable so that this value we can use outside the scope, and this is the size as 2140. And if you will go below here, after that we updated the assign the name as update retry success, and inside that we updated variables. You can see the where total retry we make as 4, that 4 is 3 plus 1, so that in next iteration loop will automatically end because that condition will be false, that 4 is less than equals to 3. After that we updated the flag VIP flag to y from n, and then after we assign the variable VIP file reference with the file reference value and the size that 2140. After that you can see the scope ended, and after that scope ended, it's again started another scope by checking the condition, that scope that run report exists, and after that you can see entered switch, that switch having the condition, and if condition true it's moved to the state file read activity, and the rest of the process is same. For example, let me what we are going to do, we are going to generate the exception. So how we can generate the exception here? For example, this is our BIP report, and then let me change the BIP report name. So let me add one here. So right now it will be invalid BIP report name, and this report name will not be available in the SAS. So what it will do, it will try to, it will get an error while invoking the SOAP. So once it will get error while invoking the SOAP, it will go and it will iterate again. So it will iterate total number of 3 times based on that. No, it will not run because we didn't save. So after doing the changes in the SOAP, in that we have to save this one. So let me save this one. Now we save that lookup, and now you can see again go back and run this integration here. Now this time we will get that issue, and here you can see integration completed and it's showing error, and we got error while in retry only, and this iterated 2 times, that you can see the first iteration error, you can see error invoking BIP, we got fault, and once we got fault it moved to the fault handler. In the fault handler what we have done, we in the fault handler we added the variable assign, and we are going to increase the count to 2, and same as next time we are increasing the count to 3, that kind of things we added logic. So let me refresh this instance, and once we will reference, you can be able to see all the details. You can see the total number of 3 iteration, all these 3 iteration got error, and after that we added the log. If you remember, VIP report is empty because we don't have report, that's why it's moved to the else condition, right? And that's integration completed, and it's not going to insert data. So that's the logic we added. If instead of 3, if we will add 5, it will iterate 5 times. Let me save this one, save, and if I will run the integration again, you can see I will be able to see that it will iterate 5 times. That's the logic completely we added. And friend, if you like the video and the content I deliver, don't forget to subscribe our channel. It's really take a lot of time to create the content, create the slide to show you, prepare the all these things, whatever I am going to explain. Before explaining you, I'm just trying to do the same thing, one lot of testing from my end, so that while recording I didn't get any error or anything. So if you like the way I explaining the content I deliver, don't forget to subscribe our channel. So again we got 3 because maybe that loop didn't reloaded the, what we can say, the lookup. So let me 5 we provided. Let me save this value again, save, and now again if we will run this one, hopefully this time it will iterate 5 times because we already saved this lookup. You can see iteration is 4 times. Again if I will refresh, it will be able to see the 5 times. Now you can see the iteration is, total iteration is 5 times. So friend, that's the logic we implemented here. Thank you so much again for watching this video. If you have any other queries and you want to ask anything, don't hesitate and don't forget to write and comment. And yes, if you want to support us, you can join our membership. That's completely free. We are not going to charge anything to display the videos, to show anything. But yes, if you want to support us, you can join our membership. And most important thing, don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you so much again.